This is not just a contract, it is the dawn of a new era. For far too long, our resources fueled the prosperity of others, while our people remained in darkness. Today, the Sahel rises. Together with Egypt, we control our gas, our energy, and our destiny. This is how Africa wins, not with dependence, but with unity, courage, and vision. Let the world take note. The age of exploitation is over.
In a historic move that has sent shockwaves across Africa and the global energy industry, the newly formed Sahel State, comprising Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, has just sealed the largest natural gas deal ever seen on African soil, a jaw-dropping $20 billion agreement with Egypt. This is not just a business deal, it's a declaration of energy independence, unity, and African resilience. For decades, Africa's vast natural resources were exploited by foreign powers. Our gas lit homes in Europe, while our own people lived in darkness. But now, something new is happening. A different kind of leadership is rising in the Sahel, one that doesn't bow to Western control, one that is ready to power its people, industrialize its future, and trade with fellow African nations on African terms. The question is no longer whether Africa can stand on its own. The question is, can the rest of the world keep up with the new Africa? Welcome to Africa Vibe News, where we bring you Africa's boldest moves, untold victories, and rising leaders who are reshaping the future of our continent. If you're watching this, you're witnessing history in the making. The emergence of the Sahel State is a revolutionary development in the African political and economic landscape. Historically viewed as conflict zones or aid recipients, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have defied global expectations by forging a powerful alliance. This unity is not just about shared borders, it's about shared values, sovereignty, self-reliance, and self-determination. The natural gas deal with Egypt is a direct consequence of this new political will. It represents a shift from dependency to empowerment. After decades of watching foreign powers dictate terms and take the lion's share of Africa's wealth, the Sahel nations are saying, no more. Signed at a high-profile summit attended by Sahel leaders, Egyptian delegates, and observers from across the African Union. This deal isn't just a regional victory, it's a symbol for all of Africa. Leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso and Colonel Assimi Goïta of Mali stood shoulder to shoulder with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi as they declared a new era of Africa-led development. The energy sector, long dominated by foreign players, is now in African hands. And this deal proves that African countries can not only manage their resources, but also broker multi-billion-dollar partnerships without Western gatekeepers. Let's dig into the specifics. This $20 billion deal covers several key components over a planned 15-year rollout. Gas field exploration and development. Niger and Mali hold promising natural gas reserves, previously unexplored due to insecurity and lack of investment. Now, with political stability growing under the new Sahel governance, Egypt will assist in mapping and extracting these resources. New drilling technology will be imported and adapted for use in semi-arid conditions, with Egyptian engineers training Sahel technicians and young graduates through a newly formed Sahel Egypt Energy Institute. Infrastructure, pipelines, and energy hubs. The construction of a 3,000-kilometer gas pipeline network will begin in 2026. This pipeline will run from Niger's Agadem Basin through Mali to Burkina Faso, and then branch into Libya, connecting with Egypt's established Suez terminals. This pipeline will not only transport gas, but serve as a strategic artery for trade and military logistics. It is projected to transform remote regions into bustling industrial hubs. Small towns will become centers for storage, compression, and quality control. Domestic and regional distribution. 60% of the gas produced will remain within Sahel borders, providing electricity to rural areas and powering small factories and agro-processing plants. The remaining 40% will be exported to Egypt and North African neighbors. This model guarantees energy access for local populations while generating revenue from exports. It's a win-win strategy that balances local development and international trade, ownership, and revenue sharing, unlike past deals signed with foreign corporations. This agreement ensures joint African ownership. Sahel State maintains a 60% controlling share, while Egypt holds 40%. Importantly, revenue will be taxed and reinvested into public services, especially health, education, and rural electrification. A new sovereign wealth fund will be created to manage income from gas exports. This will shield the economy from price shocks and ensure long-term benefits for future generations. Egypt's involvement in this landmark deal is strategic and multifaceted. As Africa's third-largest economy, Egypt brings not just resources, but geopolitical clout. It has experience managing large-scale gas operations, as seen in the Zohr gas field project in the Mediterranean. But the deeper reason lies in a shared vision. Egypt sees the Sahel as more than just a zone of instability, it sees potential. Cairo has committed to investing not just capital, but also diplomatic and military support to ensure the project's success. This partnership gives the Sahel State a powerful northern ally with global influence. Egypt, in return, secures a reliable energy source closer to home, diversifying away from volatile suppliers and routes in the Middle East. The alliance strengthens North-South African ties, creating a blueprint for future economic unity and integrated development across the continent. For decades, African natural gas was tied to Western contracts. France, the UK, and the US signed deals that favored their corporations, often locking African nations into exploitative terms. But this new deal marks a turning point. By working with a fellow African nation, the Sahel State ensures profits remain within the continent. No more paying Europe to refine or export our own gas. No more watching African workers live in poverty while foreign CEOs grow rich. Western reactions have been swift and panicked. Energy lobbyists in Brussels are pressuring African nations to reconsider regional dependencies, while French news outlets question the security of African-only deals. But the writing is on the wall. Africa is building its own path, and this $20 billion deal is a signpost pointing toward a future free from neo-colonial control. The ripple effects of this deal will be felt beyond the energy sector. Over 150,000 direct jobs and 1.5 million indirect jobs are expected to be created across Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Training centers and vocational schools will spring up along the pipeline route, feeding a new generation of African engineers, electricians, and energy economists. Industries that have long struggled due to erratic power supply like food processing, mining, and manufacturing will flourish. Local entrepreneurs are already preparing for the boom in energy-dependent businesses. From irrigation pumps to electric vehicle charging stations, a growing middle class will emerge as a result, with rising wages, better infrastructure, and new opportunities for rural communities long cut off from national progress. At the African Union Summit following the announcement, the atmosphere was electrified. Delegates from Tanzania, Ethiopia, South Africa, and Ghana expressed interest in replicating the Sahel-Egypt model. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame hailed it as the most practical example of Pan-African integration in modern times. Even skeptical voices admitted the project was ambitious, but well aligned with Africa's Agenda 2063 for inclusive growth. Meanwhile, ECOWAS, which previously threatened sanctions against the Sahel trio, is reassessing its stance, realizing that isolating these nations could cost the region a seat at Africa's next economic frontier. Of course, such a bold plan comes with risks. Security remains a challenge in parts of the Sahel where extremist groups still operate. But the new tripartite military alliance has already begun securing pipeline zones, with help from Egyptian military intelligence. Corruption and mismanagement are other concerns. Transparency will be key. Both Egypt and the Sahel State have agreed to independent audits, real-time tracking of gas flows, and citizen monitoring via blockchain platforms. The goal is not just to build pipelines but trust. This deal is more than economics. It's a mindset shift. For too long, African leaders were told they couldn't lead without help. For too long, development meant dependence. But this partnership proves otherwise. By choosing each other, Egypt and the Sahel State have reminded Africa of its own strength. This is African capital, African labor, African vision, and it is only the beginning. So, to the youth of Africa watching this on Africa Vibe News, take note. The future is not being written in Washington or Paris. It's being written in Bamako, Ouagadougou, Niamey, and Cairo. And it's time to pick up the pen.